All right, clap sync 1 2. All right, here we go. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mutually Assured Destruction podcast. My name is Sharif, and with me this week I have no one. It's just me. it's just me this week. Okay, so last week we were gonna have a podcast, but it turned out I wasn't available and Josh wasn't available and no one was available, and it's just been a really busy kind of month. And the same thing kind of happened this week where I was available but most everyone else wasn't, and it came a thing of, do we not do the podcast twice, or do I just become an insane person and podcast on my own? And I figured, why not? I'll podcast on my own. I'm not sure how often this is done, where you just sit here and listen to a person have a dialogue with, I suppose it's a monologue. Listen to someone have a monologue with themselves. And I figured, what are conversations that interest me? What topics do I love talking about so much that I could sit here for X amount of time and discuss it on my own? And I kind of came to the conclusion it's things that I hate. I love talking about things that I hate. It's not on my hate list, but I do have a hate list. And it was a lot easier for me to come up with than I thought. Like, I thought I was going to sit here and be like, oh man, what do I hate? But there's a whole list of things. It's nonstop, and it probably doesn't even scratch the surface. There's a lot of it. And, I'm gonna read it off, but it's not in any particular order, although this first one really kind of does crown them all. So the biggest thing I hate, Josh, absolute worst. I mean, he ditched this podcast just so he can go to Arizona or something and prep for, grad school. Ew, gross. Is it technically grad school if he's going for his PhD? I don't know. Either way, disgusting. Absolute worst. Honestly, Justin should replace him, but not my decision. I'm producer. I guess it could be my decision. Screw it. Justin's replacing him. I've made that executive decision right now. Number 2 things. Mosquitoes. Why? I went hiking this weekend. Well, I attempted to go hiking. My siblings were in town. So I was like, I'll take them to New Hampshire. We'll go hiking. There's a lot of cool things there. We got like a minute into the woods. I have like 20 mosquito bites. It became a point where I was like, oh man, I'm a little itchy. And I looked down and there were like 6 mosquitoes on my arms. We turned around, found a gas station that sold bug spray that was like an unreasonable amount of DEET. I think DEET is the thing that like keeps mosquitoes away, and it was like 40% DEET, which sounds illegal. I'm not sure how much room is left for aerosolized components other than DEET at that point, but it was mostly DEET, and it smelled like it too. I doused myself in that. We tried getting a second go at it, and it was no good. They did not care at all. Mosquitoes, absolute worst, right under Josh. Watching beloved celebrities fall out of fame, that's a sucky one. Especially like when it's nothing, like if it's a big controversy and you can like hate the person afterwards, that's kind of cool, because it's like, oh man, there's no reason to like be enthralled in this person's life anymore. But when it's someone who like does something you really enjoyed and you're like, man, I can't wait to see what they do next. And then it's just like a slow decline, and you kind of watch them fade out or like just kind of not become relevant anymore. I don't know why. It's not like it's my life or anything, but it's definitely like, it's not a nice feeling. I'm not really sure why that is though. But yeah. Trying to crack a joint and not being able to. I only put that on the list because I tried that like a lot before we even started. And it's one of those things where people don't realize like the thumb has multiple joints. Like you just kind of have like that one exterior one, but there's also one like really down at the base. And if you can crack that, it's like the best feeling ever. And for some reason I remembered that, but I forgot how to do it. So I've been sitting here for like the last 2 days, just like trying to break my hand in half, be like, oh, I'll get that hidden kind of thumb joint. But that one's probably the suckiest one that I've encountered this week. The way water tastes when you leave it in a cup for a few hours. What is happening to water? Why does it taste so horrible? If you leave, like I've left like a cup of water by my bedside because I'm like, oh man, I'm kind of thirsty. I probably want this when I wake up. But I get up and I taste it, and it tastes horrible. What is it? It's water. It's millions of years old. Why is it when it is exposed to the atmosphere for like 0.5 seconds, it has this nasty, like, not tangy flavor, but it's weird. It's a gammy flavor. I don't know how to explain it, but anyone who's had this problem knows water tastes disgusting when you leave it in a cup for like more than an hour. Wasps. They just don't have any reason to exist. What is the purpose of wasps? Like a mosquito, I at least understand that they're like frog fodder. Frog fodder? That's kind of a frog fodder. And like, things like spiders and all that eat them. Like, I get it. They're basic on the food chain. What do wasps contribute? What do they do? They literally have no purpose. They don't keep any population in check. They're just evil and hateful, and they're really good at making nests. They literally make a nest anywhere, and like, it's not like a honeybee where they have like a queen. Like 10 of them will just venture off and be like, fuck it, we're starting a new colony right here and right now. And then they'll do it. You'll have like 20 wasp nests in your backyard that started from one wasp nest, and you just hate them all. And honestly, I just wish them all horrible deaths. For someone who's allergic to wasps, I've killed so many in my lifetime. For some weird reason, I'm always like the wasp extermination guy. Like in my lab, somehow in the engineering lab that I work in, somehow a wasp got in and everyone was freaking out. And I found like a really heavy thing. I think it was like a $300,000 voltage source. And I just went squish. And that was gross because wasps don't really squish. They just kind of break into smaller pieces, like smaller, gooier pieces. Milk. Why? I mean, that brings up the question, do cows taste spicy? I'm sure I could Google it, but I'd like to just think that like their tongue just has like, because they have taste buds, and I'd just like to think that it's just grass. Like everything tastes like grass to them. Like if I feed a cow a pepper, is it going to make spicy milk if I give a cow a pepper? It probably would. I mean, it's to reason that it probably would. Yeah, I guess I'll never know because I'm too lazy to look it up. Gourd vegetables. Why? What is there a single? I guess pumpkins gourds. Melons for sure aren't, but pumpkins probably are. Other than pumpkin, is there a single good gourd vegetable? Zucchini is disgusting. I don't know if eggplants are gourd either. I think I don't understand what a gourd is, but I'm sure Josh will criticize me on that sooner or later when he finds out I don't know what gourds are. Gourds, absolutely disgusting though. Gross. No point to them. High noon. Why high? It's the worst time of the day. It's like sunsets are pretty, sunrises are pretty. Like at certain points of the day, it can be like kind of nice, and the shadows are hitting. High day is just disgusting. It's blindingly bright. There's like very little places you can find shadows. The sun's just hitting you from every direction. High noon is probably the worst time of day. And I will take all challenges to that because I think I'm absolutely right in that one. People who ride motorcycles to try to look cool. I ride a motorcycle, but it's just because I enjoy riding motorcycles. It's fun and it feels like you're riding a really fast bike. But people who have like these dumb motorcycles that they do wheelies on, no one thinks it's cool. I've never once seen a cyclist. I think they're technically called cyclists. I've never seen a cyclist do like a wheelie on a highway and be like, man, that dude's legit. I'm just like, you're dumb. You don't value your life enough. Stop riding motorcycles to be cool. Just ride them as transportation or like to have a fun time. Maybe like go out with some friends and ride motorcycles. But people who ride to be cool are absolutely the worst. Israel. I definitely should have put that one on top of the list. Israel's definitely the worst. And all Zionists, they can go fuck themselves. Official statement of the podcast. Producer Sharif says so himself. Zionists are the worst. They can go fuck themselves. There's I'm not going to have that questioned. It just is definite logic. Israel and Zionists fucking suck. And end of story. They're the worst. I could actually have an entire podcast just on that, but I'm sure it'll soak up too much time. The lifespan of beloved animals. I like hamsters, gerbils, dogs. Why can't they live longer? That sucks. I don't like that at all. Also, I also hate the lifespan of hated animals. Like, why do bears live so long? Why do hippos live forever? Like all these animals that suck, they have really sharks. They can live like 500 years. Why do terrible animals live so long? Absolute worst. Everything I say, I'm gonna call it the absolute worst because I'm very passionate about things I hate, and I'll defend my points to a T. But that's neither here or there. That when you overestimate how much shampoo you need when you're pouring out of the bottle, and it's like, oh man, I got too much shampoo in my hand. But it's like you can't take that back. You got the shampoo in your hand. So it's like a thing of like, oh man, do I kind of like drop it in the shower and like risk slipping on it? Or I just put an absurd amount of shampoo in my hair. And it's like you feel like you've wasted so much money on the shampoo. But if you really do the math, it's like pennies worth of shampoo. But wasting shampoo feels so much more wasteful than like most things. Like if a fruit goes bad and I'm like, oh man, this sucks. That was a good mango. I guess I'll throw it away. It's like that's like $1 worth of mango, but like a few cents of like shitty shampoo. It's like, oh man, this is a real tragedy. I don't know. When a stranger stares at you and you stare back and they don't look away, like when I look at you, you're supposed to look away so I can look away. But if you don't look away, I'm not going to look away because then you're going to think I'm a bitch for looking away. But I don't roll like that. So like you'll roll on someone's and you'll see them and you'll stare at them and they'll stare at you and then you realize you're just two idiots staring at each other. It's like you have to look away. That's not how this works. I can't catch you staring at me and then you continue to stare. Look away. What's your problem? Fuck that. I hate that. Just look away. That's simple. Look away. The way cows can't. This is a real cow heavy episode. I hate that cows can't walk sideways. I'm sure they might be able to, but I've never seen it, and I feel like they're definitely a species that should walk sideways more often. Like, I don't know. It'd be interesting. I want to see a cow walk sideways. So if anyone can share with me any videos of cows doing crab walks or something, I'd appreciate that. It might be like the general aerodynamics of them. Like maybe they'll fall over if they walk sideways. But they have 4 legs, so I feel like they could probably do it better than most things. My own limitations. I hate those. I wish it'd go away. It's just like I have too many. And I don't want it. Like I want to learn instruments, but I don't have the patience required. Like I'll pick up an instrument and I'll like start to learn it and I'm like, "Ooh, what's that over there?" And I'll just do something else. My limitations definitely suck and I have a lot of them and it's mostly musical based. Like I can pretty much focus on anything else. Like if I want to learn a language, I'm sure I could sit down and figure out a language. But for whatever reason, when it comes to music, I'm so impressed with when other people are able to, because I'm like, how'd you take the time to sit down and learn that? That's insane. Yeah. How mutual fighting is considered unacceptable in society. Like if I want to fight someone and they want to fight me back, I feel like there should be like some sort of signal. Like we should both like have to stomp like 3 times and it's like, oh, we've disregarded like the consequences of this one-on-one fight. I'm not talking like weapons or anything. Like I'm talking about like old school fight. Like I don't like you, you don't like me, let's fight. I don't know why that's illegal. If we're both consenting to the fight and one of us gets our ass whooped, it should just be that. It should end right there. I think we should bring like the old school days. I think we should just have people fight and then at the end of it, they just go back to hating each other or get along. But I don't know why fighting isn't allowed. Good shows and series ending. That's a disappointing one. I don't. It's just like it's not and it is because it's so nice when a good series has a good ending and you can label it a good series. But when it ends, you're like, oh man, I want more. But at the same time, I don't want more. I don't understand what I want out of that one. I just wanted to, I wanted to expel my grief in all this because that's terrible. There's so few good shows out there. And I think the good ones do end way quicker than the bad ones. which is terrible. I hate liars. Yeah. People named Alvin. I only put that one down because I figured there's probably not that many Alvins out there. And I'm sure I could take every Alvin alive individually. Like, I'm sure we could fight and I would win every time. Plus, if your name's Alvin, you're not really like lifting weights or anything. So yeah, people named Alvin, I don't fuck with them. Yeah, this is an Alvin free zone. No Alvins. Abstract art. Just say you can't paint. Just say it. No one's going to judge you. We just won't respect you like we would if you were an abstract artist. And I think that's in your benefit and society's as well. Abstract art isn't real art. It's real art if you put it like behind like something real, like an actual painting of something. Like, I love abstract backgrounds, but just presenting like a swash of colors and weird shapes on its own is art. You can't call that art. It doesn't make sense unless it has some sort of psychology or illusion behind it. It's not art. It's just people interpreting their feelings through paint, and it just sucks. Absolute worst. The weight of water. I don't understand this one. Why is water so heavy? Like, I understand it from a scientific point. Like, it has like, it's really kind of a dense form. But it's like you pick up a bucket of water and you're like, man, if this was a bucket of sand, I'm sure I could carry this no problem. But it's water and it's heavy, and a bucket of sand is like a bucket of rocks, but water just feels so much heavier. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the weight of water at all. Laplace and S transformations. As a former engineering student, I've had enough and I never want to see one again. It's one of those things I wish I could forget. I think I'll reach happiness when I get to the point where I forget how to do a Laplace transform. I hate when the moon looks really, really good and a cloud passes in front of it. And it's like, get out of the way. I'm missing the show. But it's, clouds don't care. They're clouds. They just kind of do what they want. But it's like, man, like when you catch a glimpse of like a really cool moon and then like clouds get in front of it and you don't see it the rest of the night. I hate that. I'll sit out there for like an hour just staring at the sky being like, woo, get out of the way. The way there aren't 2 months of April, I don't know, like they don't even have to be back to back. Like we can have one after September, but I just feel like we need 2 Aprils. April is just a really good month in like every sense of it. And I just don't appreciate how there aren't 2 Aprils. April's dope. You can't contradict me on it. Gray cars. I don't know who saw a car and went, that needs gray. Like there's no black, fine. White's kind of ugly on cars, but white's kind of acceptable. Like it's at least a solid. Like gray, why? Unless it's like a really cool finish on it, that's fine. But just like the amount of gray cars out there is very upsetting. The way British people insist on jamming random letters into their words. Just don't put a U in color. Why do you do that? There's no point in it being there. It already has the O. It has all the sounds it needs. When you don't hear what someone says, so you ask them to repeat it, and then they do repeat it, but you still didn't hear it the second time. So you just kind of sit there and you nod and you're like, uh-huh. But it's like not a question that has a yes or no answer. And they know, and they know, and it's just kind of really awkward, and it ruins whatever moment you guys were having. I hate that. That's probably the worst. All of this is the worst. Lemons. Why do we need them? Lime are superior. Lime tastes good, unlike lemons. And the flavor is way too close. It's just repetition. Like, we don't need this variant of limes. And I know people are saying, like, oh, lemon's the original. No, that's just because society's normalized to lemons. But if you really think about it, limes are better. Like, you have limeade. Limeade's great. Lemonade is, like, it's just kind of basic. Like, you put lime in things, adds a little zest. It's, like, not too sour, a little sweet. Limes are it. Lemons should go away. Isolation chambers, way too quiet. They freak me out. And also concerts. Concerts are too loud. I don't like that. Concerts are something I hate as well. The interchangeability of the letters C and K. Like, I understand there's certain scenarios where a C can't be pronounced as a K, but maybe we should. Maybe we should just like start pronouncing C's as K's and just get rid of the concept of K entirely. Like in most scenarios, C and K are back to back or right next to each other, are kind of interchangeable, and it doesn't make any sense. Why do we have such a repeat letter? One of them's garbage. One of them's gotta go. I don't care which. I don't have a preference for which, but I don't think C and K should both stay. I think one of them needs to go. I hate how bananas are only good for a 2 to 3 day period. Like they're ripe longer than that, but like before it's like, oh, this kind of tastes a little green. And afterwards it's like, oh, my bananas turned into banana alcohol. There's only like a 2 day period where it can be like, this is a good banana. I like this banana. Yeah. And then they just die horrible, gruesome banana deaths where they turn to like black, moldy pieces of garbage. I hate margins of error. That's it. Yeah, be precise or don't. We don't need a margin of error. This doesn't happen to me anymore, but I hated walking into a class late and everyone looking. It's like, why do you care who I am? I'm some rando. Go back to the lesson. I know it's fractional and probably like a human habit, but I just don't like that when you walk into a class late and everyone's staring at you. Just stop. Birthdays are entirely useless. There's no point to them. There's nothing. It's such a nothing day, and everyone has one, and it's not a unique identifier in any way. Like if we were gonna celebrate birthdays, we should just start celebrating random traits. It's like, oh, today I picked to be my big nose celebration today. I got a big fucking nose, and I want to celebrate it today. Like that's the significance of birthdays. There's no point to that. It's not something you accomplished. It's just a dumb day that's like, look, I came out today. Stupid. I hate them. The fact that we've already explored everything kind of sucks. I wish the Earth had more DLC. Like I wish that like there was. It's like, oh, hey, guess what? We thought we knew it all. We found more Earth. Like this, the Pacific is really big. Do we really know it's? I guess we have satellites now. Yeah, that's kind of a bummer. It's just like, when you're playing a good game and it's done, but it's like you can still go back and play the game. It's like, well, I kind of already know where everything is. You can see things that you like or like really cool parts of the game, but it's like, it just kind of sucks that there's not more game. And that's how things kind of feel with exploration. There's no more game. Wallabies, the word itself sounds too Australian, and they're just tiny, timid kangaroos. Wallabies are. I don't think they should be classified as their own thing. I think we should just call them mini kangaroos, and just have them be part of the kangaroo genus. Yeah, Australia doesn't know how to do anything, right? The phrase "you can do anything," you can't do anything. Stop believing you can. Boats, like I know they work, and I like know from a scientific point they work, but I don't believe boats should work. They just seem too heavy and the wrong shape. Like I think boats should be flatter, even though I know that's not how they work. But just the fact that they're not flat and they sit upright in water, absolutely wrong. Like airplanes, I have no problem with, even though they defy gravity. It's like, yeah, it's an airplane. That's how an airplane should work. Boats just don't seem like they should work like that. I think boats are wrong, and I think they should stop. This one I really hate. People who talk like pirates. I've never actually encountered anyone who's talked like a pirate, but just like the idea of someone who talks like a pirate gets me really angry. Like I don't want to meet someone who talks like a pirate. I think that would be the worst. Women who eat their placentas. After you give birth, don't eat your placenta. Don't do it. There's way better ways to get nutrition. It's like I don't sit there and eat my own poop and be like, well, I missed some of it the first time around. It's poop. Let it go. Placenta is just a byproduct. Sure, it has nutrients and, probably a few chemicals in there, but it's like I'm sure we could artificially recreate that. There's no need for you to take your gammy old placenta and munch on it like it's a real thing. Don't eat your placenta. Don't do it. I'll respect you less for it. Sports. I think sports suck. Everything except pole vaulting. I'm not like a pole vaulting enthusiast, but I just think whoever did it like had a really good train of thought. They're like, what if I tried jumping with this? Like, I don't know. The idea of pole vaulting just sounds really cool to me. Like, it looks difficult and there's not much of a payoff for when you do it successfully. But it's just like the idea of the inception of pole vaulting is really fascinating to me. It's just some guy went, what if I use a stick? And I jumped with it. And everyone went, you're insane, Mark. Why would you do that? But it's like, he had a good idea and he followed through with it. And it's way more ingenious than like, let's kick this ball around or let's throw this ball or let's, run with the ball. It's like, guy saw a stick and he said, I think I can jump with that. And he manifested his idea. And today we pole vault because of it. So pole vaulting's cool. All other sports suck. Artificial teas. Yeah, just make Kool-Aid and like call it a day. It's not real tea. Artificial grape flavoring. I think that's on par with like artificial pineapple flavoring. Both of those are just kind of terrible. I don't. Yeah, no, I'm not a fan. I'm good. I'll pass. I mean, there's a lot of other things I hate as well, but I feel like I covered a good little sliver of them today. And maybe we'll do this again. Maybe I'll discuss some more things I hate when more people are here. But this is definitely a long list of things I hate, and I'll stand by all of them. If you want to argue it, fight me or contact me. Either way, we can argue about any of these points, and I'll just tell you why your opinions are wrong, because they are, and it's just that simple. But either way, I next week we should have a much more traditional podcast instead of me talking in front of the mic for how long. Who knows how long this cut's gonna be? But yeah, hey, this has been the Mutually Assured Destruction podcast. My name is Sharif, and with me is nobody again. It's just me. This is really a test of insanity. Okay, that's it. That's the podcast. Go do something else. Why would you stick around this long? Why would you listen to me talking about nothing for this long? Like, I didn't cover anything. I just talked about things like, hey, and you stay. You listen to the end. Unless you skip. Then you're